F1 2019 driver lineup, confirmed seats and contracts. 10 spots available. Ferrari key. The F1 driver market has gone into a frenzy over the summer as the star names in the sport jostle for the best seats ahead of the 2019 campaign. Some huge moves have already taken place during the annual silly season, with Fernando Alonso announcing his decision to quit McLaren, and Carlos Sainz is also involved in the merry-go-round and will pass Ricciardo on his way to McLaren, while Pierre Gasly is set to step up from Toro Rosso to Red Bull. Earlier in the summer, Lewis Hamilton committed his future to Mercedes by signing a multi-million-pound 2-year extension, but there are still plenty of seats left to sort out. So who will go where next season? F1 drivers for Mercedes in 2019, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton and Mercedes were expected to sign a contract extension at the beginning of the year, but negotiations rumbled on until June before a deal was struck. The four-time world champion eventually signed on the dotted line for a reported £30 million, with another £10 million available in performance-based incentives over the next 2 years. A 12-month deal for Valtteri Bottas duly followed, locking in the Silver Arrows driver lineup for next season. However, Mercedes still have a headache over their young talent, with Esteban Ocon, George Russell and Pascal Wehrlein all struggling to secure an F1 drive for next season. F1 drivers for Ferrari in 2019, Sebastian Vettel. TBC. Sebastian Vettel is firmly entrenched at the famous Italian outfit and will likely have a big say over who his teammate will be next season. Kimi Räikkönen had been expected to bow out quietly at the end of the season, but a resurgence in form saw the French scoop 5 consecutive podiums before a DNF in Belgium. A contract extension looked on the table for the 2007 champion, particularly after the passing of former Ferrari president Sergio Marchionne led to calls for stability. However, a refusal to act as rear gunner for Vettel in Monza has potentially harmed Räikkönen's chances, and Charles Leclerc has now emerged as favourite to take the no-2 drive at Maranello. F1 drivers for Red Bull in 2019, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly. One of the biggest moves of the summer saw Daniel Ricciardo finally lose patience with Red Bull and jump ship to Renault for the 2019 season. The affable Australian had been campaigning for parity with teammate Max Verstappen in both new parts and pay, but the team were unwilling to meet Ricciardo's demand, so something had to give. Ricciardo's departure leaves Verstappen as the undisputed no one at Red Bull, although the Dutchman will have his hands full with Pierre Gasly. The Frenchman has already shown his talent in junior team Toro Rosso this season and looks prepared for the step up. F1 drivers for Renault in 2019, Nico Hlkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo. Arguably one of the most exciting and talented lineups on the grid in 2019, with Ricciardo partnering Mr. Consistent Nico Hlkenberg at the factory outfit. Ricciardo obviously believes in the potential of the works team despite their current power unit issues, although a hefty increase in wages will have potentially helped sweeten the deal. Current Renault driver Carlos Sainz, who is still currently under contract with Red Bull, will depart for McLaren at the end of the campaign, having struggled to match Hlkenberg. As for the German, he will be entering his 11th season in F1 and will be desperate to finally capitalize on his talent and reach the podium with Renault before his new stablemate. F1 drivers for McLaren in 2019, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris. It's all change at Woking for 2019, with both Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Vandoorne heading for the exit. Alonso has opted for a sabbatical, which could turn into a permanent retirement as he pursues the unofficial Triple Crown of motorsport, with compatriot Sainz stepping into his shoes. Meanwhile, Vandoorne never looked like matching his illustrious teammate this season and has been discarded in favor of Lando Norris. Norris, who is a product of the McLaren Young Driver program, is currently second in GP2 behind George Russell, and big things are expected of the 18-year-old, but can he deliver? F1 drivers for Racing Point Force India in 2019, TBC after being placed in administration and stripped of all their points, rebranded Racing Point Force India are just happy to still be active ahead of the 2019 season. Current driver Sergio Perez was advised to open proceedings against the team ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix in order to protect the workforce, leading to a buyout from Canadian billionaire Lawrence Stroll. Stroll is expected to hire his son Lance to fill one of the seats next season, while Perez's Mexican backing puts him in a strong position for the other spot. This leaves Esteban Ocon as the odd man out, having been overlooked for the second McLaren seat due to his Mercedes ties. Related articles: F1 drivers for Haas in 2019, TBC it's a case of what might have been for Haas this season after a series of errors, penalties and a big dose of misfortune has seen them miss out on a boatload of points. Despite this, Kevin Magnussen has been one of the standout performers this campaign as he continues to rebuild his reputation following an unpleasant spell at McLaren. Meanwhile, Romain Grosjean appears to have turned a corner after a torrid run of results and once again looks to have the pace to drive the team forward. Neither driver are signed up as yet, but both look safe bets to retain their seats, with boss Günther Steiner vocally supportive of their efforts. F1 drivers for Sauber in 2019, TBC while not a done deal as yet, it seems highly unlikely that Marcus Ericsson will not be driving for Sauber next season. The Swede has been outshone by Ferrari Wisgen Leclerc on occasion but kept his cool to bring home some important points for the Swiss team. Crucially, the 28-year-old also comes with significant financial backing, which should see his seat safe for another year. On the other side of the garage, Leclerc will rejoin if his Ferrari move falls through, but fellow Scuderia protege Antonio Giovinazzi is also an option. F1 drivers for Toro Rosso in 2019, TBC Pierre Gasly is off to the senior team, while Helmut Marko, head of Red Bull's driver development program, has been less than complimentary about Brendan Hartley, meaning Toro Rosso could have an entirely new lineup next season. Hartley, who has been plagued by bad luck during his debut full campaign, is likely to have the remainder of the year to stake his claim, but has a host of competitors see off. Marko has been quoted as, including former Toro Rosso pilots Sebastian Buemi, Daniel Kvyat and current Formula E champion Jean-Eric Vergne. Dan Ticktum has been ruled out due to his inability to gain enough super license points, but McLaren outcast Vandoorne would be a steady pair of hands. F1 drivers for Williams in 2019, Sergei Sirotkin, TBC Williams have been enduring a truly dreadful season, although things took a turn for the better with an unexpected double points finish at the Italian Grand Prix. Lead driver Stroll is almost certainly off to join his father at Racing Point Force India next year, meaning Sergei Sirotkin's financial backing will be more important than ever. The Russian has been quietly impressive in a woeful car and deserves his multi-year deal, while the majority of fans will want to see Williams reserve Robert Kubica complete his remarkable journey back from injury and handed a race seat. However, a more realistic option could be either Ocon or George Russell as the Grove team look to cement their relationship with engine provider Mercedes.